dungeon. Meanwhile, the scene shifts back to the double dungeon where the statue begins to move. It spreads its wings, then smashes the stone slab and speaks, saying that Genu has finally made it this far. Genu wonders if it is okay to destroy the stone slab and questions if the so-called commandments ever meant anything. The architect responds with a creepy smile, saying that the commandments once meant something, but now they mean nothing. Genu firmly asks if the architect is the one who called him to the dungeon. The architect responds with a yes. Genu then asks if the architect is a magic beast. The architect replies that Genu is asking the wrong questions. He starts clapping and suggests that instead of asking about him, Genu should ask who he really is. The architect then announces the start of the test, and the statues begin to move. And the architect adds that if Genu is still standing by the end of the test, he will reveal everything as a reward for completing the quest. As the statues start advancing, Genu prepares to command his shadows, but to his surprise, the architect stops him by simply snapping his fingers. The architect explains that since this is a test, no cheating is allowed, and adds that he wants to assess Genu alone and not the abilities of his servants. The system also notifies Genu that he cannot purchase any items or use quest reward or level up rewards for status recovery. Genu thinks to himself that he never expected all the cards in his hand to become useless. As one of the knights begins attacking him, Genu remembers that he can still use his inventory and feels confident that he can defeat all the statues using his brute strength alone. As the knight's sword comes down toward him, Genu grabs it midair and raises it before cracking it in half. He then throws the broken sword at the knight and dashes forward and crushes its head with a powerful strike. Another statue charges at him, but Genu blocks the attack with his S-rank daggers. He leaps toward the statue and breaks it apart with his daggers. Suddenly, he notices a large arrow flying toward him, and Genu swiftly breaks the arrow into two pieces and kicks one of the broken pieces toward the ranger statue's head, shattering it. Genu realizes that he has been waiting for this moment for a long time and continues smashing through the rest of the statues with relentless force. The architect watches from the sidelines, impressed by Genu's strength, and remarks that Genu has achieved so much with his human body. He expresses admiration for how much Genu has grown. While fighting the statues, Genu notices that he can now clearly see all their movements, unlike before when the statues' attacks felt like teleportation. This realization boosts his confidence as he feels certain that he can still win even though the statues are incredibly powerful. The architect, observing Genu's progress, comments that his growth is truly impressive, but declares that it is still too early for the test to end. Genu suddenly hears something massive approaching him and turns to see the statue of God beginning to move toward him. The statue of God looks down at Genu with an extremely creepy and sadistic smile, along with its glowing red eyes radiating malice. The architect announces with a sinister tone that it is time to worship the god. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the Korean Hunters Association.